This special episode is about the all-new Audi Q5, and to deliver the best service for you we have the normal Audi Q5, not the S model, and as the SUV building form. At the same time we also have the SQ5, and as the Sportback version you can see it here, this somewhat cut off rear coupe styling. So no matter which version you're going for, we have all here for you, and we'll also compare it to the Mercedes GLC and the BMW X3, because these two we had recently in a comparison. And then you asked me, when you can drive the all-new Audi Q5, how does it relate to these competitors? Everything you need to know now with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go! And we start here with the normal Q5 model. This is, however, already the S-Line. And we also have a black pack where the rings are here darkened out. And you can see this already kind of sporty styling. We'll soon go into the differentiations then to the S model. So this is here the true S model and without the black package, which I would prefer, because then you have the bright Audi rings and also more these chrome accentuations in the grille, and the return of the S badge in the front grille. Yay! Because this is another channel here, so as a feedback, from customer to the manufacturers. So you gave it in the comments, we discussed it, we also gave it as a feedback to the manufacturers, and then we can also once again have a badge in the front, because there was none of the badge so far then, also for the all new S5 model. And now they returned it here. It doesn't say SQ5 and it won't say S5 probably, so but only like the red sign and S. Honestly, I like also, like in my personal S5, I like it when it says S5 in the front, honestly. But it's of course good to have this one instead of no badge at all for the true S model. And once again, I think it just looks cooler when you have these chrome accentuations here. Grenadine Red is, by the way, this exterior color for the Sportback here. Sakhir Gold for this one here. Yeah, that's why I chose these pants here today. But of course, it's a matter of preference. For example, Leah always likes the blackout, dark, sportier look as we have here. But what you can see here, the S-Line looks pretty much similar than the true S model. It will be a bigger difference than when you have the base model, but you can see here, more or less the same in the structures. Is more about, like, the big difference here is the no black package or the black package, but definitely interesting to see it. The BMW X3 especially was criticized for its front design especially, and here the Q5 in general received very good feedback as for the design. So I think from the design itself, the vehicle here already works very well. Or what do you think? A little bit complicated with some of the optional logics they have there, and starts already with the headlamps, that you have a 3-step logic for the headlamps, the base, then an LED plus, and then here the optional matrix LED with all the different functionalities, also individual light signatures, cascading turning indicators, both front and the rear. And this is a scheme that will be carried out through the vehicle, that they have so many stuff like optional. And I think that's a problem. It should be easier for the customer. The rear comparison here, first of all, the SUV building form, of course, a little bit more upright here, but already somewhat flattened out. And this one, once again, with the black package here with the darkened Audi rings. And you can see this light strip goes all the way through. Even in the rear you have a 3-step logic for the equipment here. And this is once again the top spec, where you have these OLED here. They are somewhat shimmering, and then you also have these proximity sensors that sometimes when you get there it is. When you get close to the vehicle, then it says like, go away, you're too close. S-Line in here, the contrast in the lower part, and real exhaust tips even here for this 2-liter diesel. So this is a new scheme where once again your feedback came to us, our feedback came to Audi, because we said this fake exhaust theme was just over the top, because Audi was #1 in like ridiculous fake exhaust. And then they said, okay, we took this feedback here also from you, and then we go for this honest design once again. And here the first of all, S model and Sportback. The Sportback model, here you can see it's just flattened out, a little bit more coupe-ish style. Then the light is more or less the same. And the S model without the black package here with this chrome span, and the rear exhaust tips here, of course, but then just 2 more, so 2 on each side. That of course looks really massive, and we'll soon also go for this sound check here for you. And just that no one is confused, if you go for the S model, it doesn't have anything to do with Sportback or not. You can get the S model for the normal SUV, And you can get the normal engines, of course, also for the Sportback, just to be very clear on that. And here in this great V shot, you can see the differences between the SUV and the Sportback. And more facts and figures. The length of the new Q5 generation is 4.72 meters or 186 inches. Couple of centimeters longer than the predecessor, but not much. Here the wheels, you can see 18 to 21 inch wheels. These here are 20 inch wheels on our Q5 S-Line. There would also, for example, in Germany, be a 17-inch winter tire available if you like. And here with the black package, you can see here the mirror caps in black and also the black frames around. S-Line badge now, by the way, also new. This has also been upgraded later on, once again after your feedback. And the classic SUV style, which is more popular in the US market, for example, more upright here. And then to the Sportback, which has this flattened out look right there. The Sportback is a little bit more popular actually in Europe, especially in Germany. So that's a very interesting thing. And maybe heard it that the BMW X4 was cancelled. They only built the X3 now because there the X4 had a very tiny take rate. It might be a chance for the Audi Q5 Sportback, and also the Porsche Macan has been cancelled as the combustion engine, and this was always a sister model of the Q5, same platform. Audi has renewed this one, Porsche not. A huge mistake by Porsche, ditching their most sold model overall. No one can understand that. And yeah, the Porsche Macan EV sales, of course, cannot cope the losing sales of the Macan combustion engine. That's why probably even this one here as a Sportback model is becoming even more important for Audi, and then again for the whole corporation itself. Here no black packs, so we have the chrome frames around, and also beautiful here for the S molds, these chrome pads here for the side mirrors. I really like this styling here. Do you do as well? Here the biggest wheels, 21 inch. This is even an option for the SQ5. 19 inch would be the standard here. This is also done with the bigger brakes and so on. Suspension logic is normal Q5 base suspension. Then here the SQ5 gets a fixed sport suspension. However, these base suspensions already come in both cases with frequency adaptive dampening. That means it is adaptive, but passively adaptive. You cannot switch the driving modes. And then optional, we have it on both vehicles spec'd here today, the adaptive air suspension. It can even go in different heights, up to 6 centimeters, about 2 inches of the difference, like in the lift off-road mode or in the sportiest lower mode and so on. And this adaptive air suspension is indeed actively adaptive. So you switch the driving modes and then it gets stiffer and so on. By the way, the Northern American market models have a little bit different suspension setups, also because of regulatory things with the light duty registration and so on. So they might ride a little bit different indeed. And also the sound that we will hear, for example, from the engine very soon, will probably be a little bit more pronounced on the Northern American market. And now to the engine lineup. I always love this shot. So quickly, let me begin with the engines that you do not see here with these two vehicles. There's a 2-liter TFSI, the base petrol engine, front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Based on this engine, there will also be later a plug-in hybrid with a 20 kWh net battery, also waiting for that. And here on location, we have the other choices, the 2-liter TDI, 204 horsepower, 7.4 seconds in the acceleration figure, always with all-wheel drive. And here our SQ5, the 3-liter V6. And this one here with 367 horsepower and 4.5 seconds in the acceleration figure, of course also all-wheel drive. What is common with all markets is that the all-wheel drive is always now the Quattro Ultra. There's no exception for that, and also no sports differential or something. Quattro Ultra means it is basically a front-wheel based platform. It is not the classic Quattro Ultra with 40/60 distribution. The Quattro Ultra is more flexible. And does that mean that it's front-wheel biased only in an all-wheel drive version? Not necessarily, because yes, when you're driving really slowly, you're just rolling and so on, then it's more or less front wheels and the rear can even be uncoupled. But as soon as you hit the throttle harder, there can be situations up to 30%, 70%, so up to 70% to the rear. So when you accelerate really hard out of a corner, it can be that this becomes a more rear biased all-wheel drive. So it's more flexible, supposed to be more efficient, but at the same time, no, it's not the classic Quattro system. We have driven it in the Audi A5 already and it works quite well. It feels somewhat different than the classic Quattro Ultra, which I have in my S5, for example. I think it has pros and cons overall. What is different, for example, from European markets, some other markets, and to the Northern American market, which is of course a very important market here for the Q5. In Europe you get the MHEV Plus. That's a mild hybrid system, 1.7 kilowatt hour battery as a buffer. You can have somewhat electric moments, you can use recuperation, more efficiency. But then on the Northern American market and on some other markets, they have decided not to go for it. It's also a cost thing. And there you only have the normal start-stop system. This is the key fob, matte black, I think it's fine, slim and so on. Then the door closing sounds. I would say it's fine, could be better, could be worse. The rear sounds better actually. Then inside of the doors, so in this trim here with microfiber, not all trims have that. On the top part it's structured but not really soft. Optional Bang & Olufsen sound system. No cover here at the inside of the doors. Hard basic, there's just some rubber bottom that things don't fly around so easily. Standard window levers, you have to say that nowadays. And then you have here this high gloss black, which collects a lot of fingerprints, and you see it also is one button design. This is all one button basically overall. Then you have here for the S-Line, an S-Line entry sill badge. And no matter if S-Line or SQ5, it's more or less the same from the design. Here at the moment everything is blacked out. You see here this one black panel in a curved scheme. And then I can also activate the ignition here, and there you can see when everything comes to life with the different screen. One on the left side, one on the right side, and another passenger screen. Soon more to that, that's an option. Yeah, this is here the 12-volt voltage battery, because we are doing so many things with the car all the time. We have to hurry up then. S-Line here with the logo or with the S. This is like the sporty steering wheel, flat bottom, stitching on the inside, and then here illumination of these buttons. It is once again one button, hashtag capacitive PS, but at least it has a nice clicking feedback. And then seats, there are base seats and sport seats. These are the sport seats that come with the S-Line or the SQ5, so more shoulder accentuation. And in this case here with the microfiber on the inside, with these special stitching, this looks pretty cool, doesn't it? And it also serves a comfort function, because these cushions here make it indeed more comfortable. There is no animal-free version yet, so this is like a mix of microfiber, then artificial leather and animal leather. And yeah, I would wish Audi that they also offer, for example, a high-grade leatherette full of the seat, because also on the Northern American market they will probably use only the seats which are a mix of artificial leather and animal leather, and I think they should be more consistent and also easier for the customer. In Europe we can also get a fabric seat, for example, as an additional option. And here with 189, 6'2", still some headroom left. As tall person, there is also one with panoramic roof available. This one here does not have that one. Electric seat control, and also here electric control for the steering wheel. Dual lamination here in the front of the windows. And while the front window always has a special acoustic lamination, here the dual lamination for the side windows, the acoustic windows on the side, is an option. The cockpit layout we know from Audi A5, Audi A6 e-tron, so it's basically similar. And also the all-new Audi A6, the combustion engine. Is it already out when we publish this video? I think, right? So that we don't violate any embargo. Yeah, that was a couple of days ago, right? Yeah, just to be sure. And then optional, or with the mid tech pack, so they're different, like base, a mid and a high tech pro package. Then with the mid tech package you also get the passenger screen. Otherwise it would be a high gloss black decor element actually. Both solutions not to my liking, honestly. I think the passenger screen to me is useless, but maybe that's just my opinion. It also depends on the different markets where people use it or not. And then the problem is that I would like it clean here, and not without a black panel here, and not without the screen. What do you think about it? This whole panel here, it can be maybe for some too much, but I think it's nicely integrated in a way that it's also curved here. Then you have different decor elements here. We'll soon also check the different decor element of the SQ5. Then here the glove box is nicely dampened. That fits very nicely from the build quality. Here also cool that we have some microfiber covering at the middle console. I like that. And also that we here don't have high gloss black, at least on the outside. just on the inside middle console, Audi builds among the best cup holders because here 4 dots, they are also catching different bolts without being too tight, but tight enough for different heights. Integrated shifting lever that cleans up things here definitely. In the front here, 2 USB-C ports and inductive charging pad for your phone. This is also ventilated. And there's this logic if you go for this optional MMI package with the head-up display and the B&O sound system, then these 4 USB-C slots, so 2 in the front, 2 in the rear, are upgraded in the charging speed. So base would be 15 watt each, and then with the upgrade it's 60 watt in the front and even 100 watt in the rear. But that's only this optional inside this other package. And the armrest here is plush for your elbow, and then different heights are actually available. Not forward, but different heights, and yeah, more space underneath. And should you wonder if the SQ5 is in any way different in the interior, well, not really. We just have a different decor element. This here, like the open carbon fiber, you can really touch and feel. Not sure if this is exclusive to it. Need to check in the market configurator. But there's no real difference from like batching, everything else and so on. So yeah, this is, if you go for S-Line or SQ5, more or less identical. Driver POV, by the way, here with 2-dimensional Audi rings. I like the 3-dimensional more, but they still look cool so much. I like that we have still a separate field here for the heated steering wheel, by the way. Then the digital instruments, and I already have my SQ5 on here. Here, then you can see the RPM is here in the lower right part. This is here the speed on both sides. I think doesn't make any sense. I expect an update where this here will be the RPM meter. And of course you can change through different views right here. You also get a head-up display, optional in the package. It's not flickering, it's just doing that on camera, by the way. And then the main infotainment system here with the climate control right there. And then the question is always like, how do you do that? Like, it's supposed to, you rest your hand there and then, yeah, I'm not sure which hand was used as a standard hand to change the climate there. Pretty weird, honestly. And then here, the same accounts, I mean, can you control that better? Maybe Leah tries.
Yeah, it's okay, but not the best. It looks cool,
strange,
but...
right? Yeah, it looks clean and cool, but you look also pretty cool, like sunglasses, Leah. What about the sun blinds, by the way? The visors here cannot be extended. Does it have a light on the passenger side?
Yes.
Yeah, it does. There it is.
Makeup light.
Okay.
Is there.
Then back to the infotainment system. So climate control, not the best. Oh, seat heating out. It's hot today. Here you have some hotkeys that you can easily access the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, with or without a cable. And the MMI itself, I would say, is quick enough. This is like this main menu. What I found pretty cool is you can either swipe here, then it would be like here, or if you put in like reverse, here, put in reverse, you have the camera view, like here, also this drone view from above. Then you would have an additional menu right here for the garage door opener. That is a thing that I already showed you in shorts format, because here under more, they can program a garage door opener, even with the GPS location, that the gate automatically opens and later on closes again. Rear seats, beginning with the SUV. First of all, inside of the doors, here on top it's not that soft, but somewhat structured, that's nice. And here in this trim is also the microfiber on the inside, hardpack however at the lower part of the doors. Then we have top tether behind, but also Isofix on the front passenger seats and Isofix on the outside rear seats here each. This cap here also just goes up and down easily, and the microfiber structure on the market where it's available is really nice and plush here also in the rear. And we can have optional the rear seats plus, and then you can move this rear bench 10 centimeters front and back, make the trunk longer or more legroom, and is also here adjustable here in the inclination, but that's not standard. And here it's a little bit, you know, so at least you can see it also better, I think, when I move the other, well, here 2/3 move forward or backward, and also here the inclination. But here it's just like tiny bit I can change. Yeah, but I think overall the comfort on the rear bench is nice. Oh, feel that here when you have the microfiber material here, it makes the seating in the rear also so much more plush. So that's a huge difference if you can get this one here in your market. Then as for the headroom and the legroom, here in the SUV without the panoramic roof with 189 602, still enough headroom left, soon comparing it to the Sportback. And legroom, well, you have these recesses here, that is good for the knees. It does fit for tall adults, considering the package could be more, but it fits. And remember, here I'm driving as a tall adult, but overall decent comfort. Yeah, I could wish for more legroom in the middle part here, because it's also possible for 5 adults. Yeah, a little bit stiffer than for your back especially, but I think overall that works. And in the middle part here you have, when the ignition is on, also seat heating, a climate unit and 2 USB-C chargers in the rear. And the rear seating in the Sportback version, well, this one also without the panoramic roof. And here you can see this is a little bit closer, so you lose some headroom indeed due to this falling roofline, but it's still okay. That's not much of a compromise. And now it's time for the signature Autogefühl move with measuring the trunk or the boot. So here the SUV versus the Sportback, that will be very exciting. So the standard boot liter figure for this one here, the SUV, is 520 liters and only 5 liters less for the Sportback, because you only lose the height here above this cover. So here you can see this is more shallow here in this area. And up here, it's actually only a centimeter difference. So this one here is about 73 centimeters or 29 inches. Whereas here, moving this cover here, on the top position, this one here, we have like 74 centimeters. So 1 or 2 centimeters difference in this height, but this is more difference. Do you have a higher this area here? Other than that, it's more or less than the same. You have a little bit less of the liter figure if you have the subwoofer plus the rear seats plus like this movable seat bench. This also fits vertically. Show it to you here also from the trunk once again. This is the difference here, the 10 centimeter movable bench. So if you have this bench plus the subwoofer underneath, you lose about 45 liters of luggage capacity. But the reason is that how it's measured with the rear bench is different, because this one can be turned and you can get almost the same liter figure again if you put it a little bit more upright, because the base bench is a little bit more upright. That's like some detailed thing, but you deserve to know. Then underneath here we have some space, and once again here the subwoofer, that's why you lose like 10-15 liters here, but you still have possibility here to store stuff. And then the normal length is a little bit more than 1 meter or 40 inches, and the width here between the wheel arches also a little bit more than 1 meter or 40 inches. Good thing is that you can also fold the seats. This doesn't work because it's forward at the moment. This one does directly work. However, you have to push it through here or have to go around. I can also make that flatter. Like, another people always ask me for that to see. There we go. This then the click in. The other one would also go down. At the moment it touches the front seat, and the total length right here, there we go, is like 1 meter 80 or 71 inches. And quickly over to the Sportback, where you can see that you can do the same stuff also with folding the seats. Here at the moment the bench is moved backward. That's why it also works, and that I push this and this down. To unlock the seats again, you have to pull this lever at the side, then you can push it up again. And once again, flexible here with moving this one forward or backward. Yeah, that shouldn't interfere with this one here. There we go. Oh, that almost hit Elia and the camera. Yeah, so I think both work very well. If you have the air suspension, you can also lower the loading niveau. Yeah, here in the Sportback also the same underneath. I think it's really more a question of design. The only thing that could be affected is maybe like dog boxes that really need the height also towards this area here. And another cool feature is this here. To put the cover away, they found a good solution actually. So first of all, removing this cover right here, and then you fold this one up. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any function that it stays up. Yeah, so you just have to hold it, and then you can slide these here on the side. There we go. And then you already see it. Maybe here there's a good space to store it underneath. Some manufacturers have went for this solution now. I think it's always a good thing that Here it's like really clean. However, before putting everything back to place, you have to then still install these here again. So, I mean, there might be some more practical solutions, but yeah, that's just how often you do that. There we go. Then close it again, and then you have this everything clean. And this is here an SQ5 in ultra blue, a typical Thomas blue, really screaming out blue color. I really love that. Would definitely pick one in this color here, but it wasn't the main point. First of all, I mean, color variation is cool, but here I want to talk about the panoramic roof. This one has one, and the Sportback soon back there as well. And I can show you the difference there. So first of all, as for the headroom, it still works here in the front. A little bit less headroom, but that's it. And then you see it goes all the way across the vehicle, like 1.35 m in length. I did measure that actually, and I also measured the width because I wanted to see the differences between the SUV and the Sportback here, all the way across the vehicle, and then it's split. You have this shade here actually, so let me turn on the ignition. You have a real shade you can apply right there, and that is separated here from the control on the right side. And the true real button is only for the glass roof. So you remember, most of the time they have the solutions that you control the shade and the glass roof via this middle button. Here it's separated actually, and here it's a very wide opening. SUV with panoramic roof in the rear. It gets close indeed, because you see here, this is all the way carried onto the rear. It doesn't, you know, go up or something like that. It still fits, you know, but when you're tall, then panoramic roof, not the best idea, because, you know, see here the limit. And now this one here in district green, this is a Q5 Sportback, so not the S model, but S-Line. So first one, another color choice. And here also panoramic roof, and I said I did measure that, and I found out it's a little bit, you know, less in width, and it's like this, less in length, so a little bit shorter. And maybe you can already see that from the inside. And here we can also open it again and move forward. There we go. It's also wide, goes over the vehicle, but indeed in the SUV it's just even larger. And here the same, you can also apply this real shade then for that. But yeah, I was really curious to see when I took the measurements that this one is actually like this shorter, and on the like width is just this difference. And here the Sportback with panoramic roof, then it gets really close, but because the seating is raising here, I still barely fit here. Dynamic mode. Woo! That was the first 0 to 70 kilometers an hour in the dynamic mode. Nice. And yeah, I didn't feel like a front wheel bias or so. As I said, the more you push it, the more power is also sent to the rear wheels. And it's also an SUV, of course. And we'll start with some winding corners for you. Later also then a little bit more motorway. Here in the dynamic mode, the air suspension is a little bit stiffer, also gives me more feedback. And we have here the SQ5, starting driving with that, with the 6-cylinder 367 horsepower. That gives us good performance. And we'll later on also compare the 2-liter TDI if you don't want to spend so much money. The first thing I notice here is a very good steering, so precise handling. Every degree does something, and also the progressive steering is standard. That means I don't have to steer that much, so I can keep both hands at the steering wheel all the time. Yeah, from the steering input, it's really nice. Also when you go in some slalom situations, also on. And I was comparing to the X3 and the GLC. This one has, yeah, maybe the best steering. The GLC steering was also really good. Talking about this comparison, which is really important, the seats are the best in the X3, and I feel that the suspension is the best in the GLC. The suspension here, we have the adaptive air suspension, but it's set on a really, really stiff. Is that a donkey or a horse on the road? It is.
I think a donkey.
It's a donkey. I found donkeys really cute, by the way. So that's interesting traveling. So yeah. Okay, back to car traveling. So here, when we compare the driving modes, I go back, for example, to the comfort mode. Then the air suspension is giving us a little bit more comfort. Steering is also a little bit lighter than in this case. But even in the comfort mode, the air suspension is set on a rather stiff note, so you don't feel too much that it's an air suspension, honestly. We will soon also compare it in the non-SQ5 model, in normal Q5, how that feels different, if it gives us more comfort then or not. That will be also very interesting. Overall, it does give you a good driving feeling, and it's also in general comfortable. What we feel in the corners, talked about it with Leah a couple of last minutes before, it feels kind of heavy, especially for the passenger. And we also had this comparison X3 versus GLC, and there the GLC felt lightest and also best for Leah. That's another interesting aspect. Yet again, as I said, the X3, there's an older generation. Was it X3 or X1? Sometimes hard to differentiate in the older generations especially. So as I said, the X3, the best seating comfort, which is also important for long journeys. And also the X3 has the best engine setup. Both the Audi and the Audi Q5 and the Mercedes GLC, no matter if you go 2-liter 4-cylinder or here the 6-cylinder, Mercedes of course always the 4-cylinder besides the GLC 450 diesel. So the BMW engine feels a little bit more cultivated when you like slightly hit the throttle, when you lift the throttle and so on. How it behaves is just the best for the engine setup, both in the 6-cylinder and the 4-cylinder. This was also good here with the V6, of course, and we'll soon compare it then to the 4-cylinder engine in the diesel. It's just that sometimes when you lift off the throttle and then you have some noise from the transmission, for example, and the throttle is here. It's a little bit more responsive than in a Mercedes, I would feel. In a GLC, sometimes it took like a second to get going, and here now it's actually fine. But in the BMW, it was even a little bit better as for engine and transmission wise. I would call it that way. Wind noise and so on is really good here. So it's very, very silent from the wind noise. However, sometimes we have rattling noises here from the front, the top dashboard, I think from the speaker or so on. We can also compare it to the other vehicle if it's the same there. And also here, for example, at the moment, the road is very even in the surface. However, when we have a lot of bumps in the road, then there are a lot of booming noises. This is here, there's a hump here, and this here, the one with the 21-inch wheels, that makes the ride also stiffer. But especially when the road is uneven, these booming noises can be quite irritating, I would say. Yeah, and I think that is the strongest booming noise here in the Audi Q5. I think that was less both in the X3 and in the GLC. We'll later also drive the Motorway and see how about the wind noise and so on. Nice driving dynamics here also out of the roundabout, for example. Then here air suspension is giving you a lot of like span between sportiness and comfort, so that's all good. So I think the unity of driver, car and road, that is well mastered here indeed. It's really good that we had the X3 and GLC experience before, so we can go even deeper into these detailed aspects and so on. Dynamic mode, once again, let's accelerate out from, let's say, 40 to 80. That's it. Nicely. Oh, we could have accelerated even further. So 80 is okay. Now it's 90. Interesting, definitely. Yeah, the acceleration with the 6-cylinder is nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice. And yeah, I don't feel that it would be too much front wheel bias or so on. So this Quattro Ultra system is working very well. Here now at a little bit higher speeds, very stable on the road, definitely. That's good and a lot of fun. Nice feeling from the brakes. So yeah, I mean the car feels like it is. Everything fits to each other. That is definitely well done. Difference with the A5 is of course same base platform, a lot of same parts, but it sits higher. It does feel like a real SUV, definitely.
More G-force.
Yeah, and I mean for the passenger, for the passenger, it's always better when you have especially with passenger, when you have these low-sitting vehicles, they just apply. Yeah, I mean the G-force are always the same, but you know how it behaves and so on, how high you sit, it always affects how the passenger feels.
Very loud.
Yeah, when there's uneven road. Yeah, especially like I'm not sure how you can pick it up on camera, but as soon as there are like damaged road, there's this booming noise in the cabin. And that has been the problem with the whole VAG corporation, like all the different Volkswagen AG products, like, you know, VW, Cupra, Audi, I mean, even the premium like Bentley, Lamborghini and so on. They have the problem a lot with this booming noise when the road is uneven. And that is more present here than in the X3 and the GLC. But you already see where the story is going, that all the different brands have their like specific thing where they are maybe best and some things where it's maybe, you know, less good and so on. And of course, the more situations we experience, the more we can experience here. And I'm also really looking forward soon to the difference from the SQ5 to the like normal model, like with the 2-liter TDI, although we have the adaptive air suspension in that one there too. So already very interesting aspects here so far. Motorway. Woo! Yeah, another nice acceleration onto the motorway. And we can drive some 120 kilometers an hour, so that gives us more possibility to check the noise insulation and so on. We can go back to the comfort mode as well, and yeah, I think as we said, really, the wind noise is really good, slow, nice traveling feeling, and when the road is even, it's actually really, really good. Just, you know, when the road is destroyed, then you have this booming noise problem. But when it's like this, all fine. And here I can also again activate now on purpose the lane keeping assist while being in the cruise control mode. And the assistance systems are really elaborated here, it's keeping me in the lane. Then here blind spot monitor in the side mirror is a perfect spot for that. You need a perfect spot for the blind spot monitor. And here now when the motorway also goes a little bit more to the right, this has also been upgraded here in this new generation. So the assistance systems, they have made a big leap forward indeed. So that's cool. The MHEV Plus system, by the way, I felt it more in the A5 honestly than here in the Q5. Let's see later about the efficiency and so on of both engines here with the V6 and with the 2-liter TDI. But I think this combination of good noise insulation as for wind noise and so on, and then the elaborated assistance systems make it also a nice motorway cruiser for long term. Yeah, there's the GLC. So that's actually pretty comfortable here on the motorway now, right? Yeah, that's also cool good, for the passengers and so on. And
it's only in the corners.
Yeah, only in the corners because that's then you feel it's an SUV. But I mean, we had these rare exceptions like I said, GLC 63, which was great in the corners also for the passengers. So maybe it's more a suspension thing or something like that. But here also good that we have the comfort setting then for the air suspension. But as I said earlier, it's tuned on a relatively stiff note that you don't feel too much of the air suspension, honestly. And that, of course, is a matter of preference, whatever you find actually better. To set the cruise control and change the speed, I have this separate column here, by the way, which I think is a good thing because it's really intuitive to use. You could also put it theoretically on the steering wheel, but then you wouldn't have the control buttons for the instruments on the left side and so on. So yeah, definitely one of the best things the Q5 you can do in the new generation is this motorway riding, and also here with the assisted systems. So that's a very elaborated or sophisticated experience here with the all-new Q5. And that's, I feel, also better than in the previous generation, for example. And now we hop over to the diesel, and what I want to show you here with the assistance system, even if we do some city traffic here, driving 30 kilometers rural here. And I don't have the cruise control set. So this is almost like an auto steering from this like active lane keeping assist without having the cruise control set. That is very interesting, right? So and you can also deactivate it because, as I said earlier, on the countryside road when you want to drive sporty, not that cool. And there are two possibilities. So either slide here and then press this button on the top there. So this would be one possibility, or with this left stalk column, that would also be possible because pressing it once, this has the adaptive cruise assist with or without lane guidance, but that is the setting for inside the cruise control. For deactivating the general lane keeping assist, the general lane keeping assist, press and hold on the column here, and then in the middle part we also see that here deactivated. So this is the trick to that one. So To deactivate the most annoying features is, first of all, set on the favorite button the speed limit chime warner, and then press and hold the left one here, and then you can drive more or less freely. But you see, the system, when you really want to use it is actually pretty impressive. And then about the diesel in general, so it does create some of the typical diesel noise, but not this typical, like diesel nailing, as we say in Germany, nageln, diesel nageln. It's not that prominent. You hear it's a diesel, yes, but it's not super negative or something like that. And also how the throttle approach is, that's actually quite good. It's not that nothing is happening and then when you hammer it through, then suddenly all the power sets in. That's what sometimes is being done with the diesels. But here, also when you're slightly on the throttle, you have the power output directly, so that's actually fine. So it's not too different than if you compare it to the base petrol. Of course, there's a difference in the sound, and the diesel has actually good performance with this 7.4 seconds to 1 kilometers an hour. We'll soon also accelerate onto the motorway and then also see about the consumption, because with the diesel, it's of course all about the consumption. The air suspension here, by the way, it more or less feels the same. I mean, we can select the different driving modes. We can also go to the comfort or to the dynamic mode and then see what's happening, especially on the motorway. By the way, if you want to feel more of this MHEV system, then you go to the drive mode efficiency. Then you also have more experience with this, electric moments and so on. The throttle input is drawn back if you really want to score the best consumption. There we go, from 40 slightly uphill. Let's go. And there it is, 120 kilometers an hour. It's like 70 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour. Yeah, I mean, that's the difference now to the SQ5, no wonder. Yes. Yeah, but I mean, still, the performance will be enough.
For me, it would be enough.
Yeah, for you it's enough. Yeah, it's definitely fine. And then also the higher speeds, you don't feel so much difference from the engine, because like
now
the rest.
It's booming.
Yeah, when we are again over some uneven terrain, then you have the booming sound again. And also this is a very rough tarmac here, and now we're going to a different kind of tarmac. Now another one again. Yeah, but it's more like when the road is uneven and so on. Wind noise is very low again, once again, same vehicle. And I feel that the suspension is really not that different, is it? That's probably more about the driving modes. If you have the dynamic mode or comfort driving mode and so on, and not necessarily the difference SQ5 and the normal Q5 here. So the SQ5 difference is really more about that V6 petrol engine. That is the really strong case for that. Everything else feels kind of similar. And the thing with the precise steering and so on is also the same here. Also when you go back a little bit back and forth. So that's actually fine. So yeah, the thing we also already felt that with the A5, that normal models, or if you go S-Line for the visual stuff, and the S models, they are pretty close in how the car is feeling overall. The main difference really the engine setup and the acceleration figure. Consumption for the SQ5, 10 liters on 1 kilometer, so 23 mpg US, 28 mpg UK. And for the 2-liter TDI, we achieve some 7 liters on 1 kilometer, so some 34 mpg US, 41 mpg UK. As for pricing, a base Q5 in the new generation starts at around 50,000 euros or 50,000 pounds. US prices to come at a later stage. Of course, you can spec it very well, and an SQ5 already is at about 85,000 euros. But even here a normal Q5, as it stands here right here, 2-liter TDI, but then with a lot of extras on the inside, this vehicle here is 84,000 euros, so as expensive as a base SQ5. And the vehicle as it stands here as Sportback SQ5, and then with all the bells and whistles, 102,000 euros. That is way more expensive than the predecessor. And also we recently had in comparison even the performance models of the X3 and the GLC. and the BMW X3 M50 or the Mercedes GLC 43 AMG. That one was like 90,000 something. So this one here is like 10K more expensive than the Mercedes and BMW counterparts. Yeah, and that extra price, I have to say, is not really justified. Of course, then the market prices depend, and then it also depends how much discount you get. For example, with the Mercedes, you rather don't get so many discounts. So probably there will be more discounts for this than for the Mercedes. Have to see about also the individual leasing rates and so on. And then since we recently tested the BMW X3 versus the GLC, I soon also want to want you to comment in the comment section which comparison we will do next. But first of all, my estimation, like where is it like situated, where is it placed? So I feel that the BMW X3, no matter if 2 or 4 cylinder, is best in engine and transmission, converter, automatic gearbox. Audi and Mercedes use the dual clutch transmission in all of the different engines. So I feel this isn't that lively, so to speak, or not that cultivated than the torque converter in the BMW. And the engine, I feel, was worst in the Mercedes because there it like sometimes takes a second to get going, better with the Audi and the best with the BMW. Then with the Audi, for example, good steering feeling. The exterior design probably works with most. This is also one thing, and also very elaborated assistance systems, very cool on long haul on the motorway and so on, this playing together with suspension and assistance systems. Then again, Mercedes has the best and most comfortable suspension, and also best with Mercedes that you don't get sick as a passenger, for example, in winding corners. So you see, yeah, BMW best in seating comfort and also best in animal-free and more sustainable choices and so on. So each manufacturer has like own pros and cons here and there. So the best is that you also check out our X3 and GLC review, and please tell me in the comments, shall we compare the Audi Q5 next to the GLC in a head-to-head, or shall we do Audi Q5 against BMW X3? So please tell me in the comments, vote for that, and see you next time.